All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will call this meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Before we begin the formal meeting, we do have some introductions we would like to do this evening. If I could have our youth counselor, Maya Dialogue, to stand up and give a wave. Joining us tonight, welcome, Maya. And I'll hand things over to CO Beveridge, who has a couple introductions.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do have a couple introductions today. This may not be a new introduction, but maybe to some of the councillors at the table. We have Darren Barisco from Infrastructure and Planning, acting GM at this point. Sorry about that. And we also have Paul Hanlon here as acting in the capacity of Planning and Development Manager in the to cover off the maternity leave for that position. So we're happy to have both individuals, and especially to have Paul acting in for the town of Edson in his capacity.
All right, thank you, CO Beveridge, and we will move on. Welcome, Paul, and welcome, Darren. Can I get a motion, please, that the agenda for the March 7th, 2023 regular meeting of council be adopted with the addition of I-1, cancellation of the March 14th, 2023 committee of the whole meeting, and an additional closed session item, town manager update under FOIP section 17 and 24. And we will go to Councillor Chenard.
Motion to adopt the agenda with additions.
Thank you, Councillor Chenard. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Motion carried. Can I get a motion, please, that the minutes of the February 21st, 2023 regular meeting of council be adopted as presented? Go ahead, Councillor Pisichny.
I move as presented.
Thank you, Councillor Pisichny. All those in favor? Motion carried. We have no public hearings. We do have a delegation this evening. Judy Ronahan, a utility bill forgiveness request. Feel free to come on up here, Judy. And Mr. Bethgy in the back will control your microphone for you.
Mr. Mayor, Councilmen and women, I'm Judy Ronahan. My husband and I own a property in Edson here that we rent out. The renters never gave any notice that they were moving, and due to hunting season, my husband and I were tied up with different people, with the hunters that come out from out of town. We did not know the renters had moved out. We didn't check our bank books because you're busy all the time. And when we drove by there, my daughter and I, one evening, we ended up with having all these windows steamed up and no curtains on the windows. So I talked to my husband, and this was in December, and he tried to get into the house with the key we had. They had changed the locks on the door, so we had no access to get in. We waited for a locksmith because he was away, and by the time we got in there, the water had been running in the basement and pipes broken and stuff like that, so we ended up with broken pipes. Now we ended up with a, $2,206.94 water bill for 1 month. We're asking for a reprieve on some of that as it was unforeseen, and we did not know at the time what was happening with no notice or anything from the renters.
Okay, thank you very much, Judy, for your presentation. We'll open up the floor to questions. I'll just let you know we won't be making a decision tonight, but we'll get an answer to you here in the next few weeks once council makes that decision. But council, do you have any questions for Judy? Go ahead, Councillor Byer.
Thanks. Through the chair to Judy, thanks for bringing this forward. Do you guys have, would insurance cover something like this if there's broken pipes?
No, insurance does not cover broken water pipes from freezing. We tried and they declined our motion for that. So we had to pay everything out of pocket for plumbers and a guy to go in there and put in those big fans to dry everything up and to spray for black mold. So yeah, it was quite an ordeal.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Byer. Council, any other further questions for our delegate? No. All right. Well, thank you very much for your presentation, and you'll hear back from us in the next few weeks once we make our decision.
One question, what do I do with the water bill? Like, I can't afford to pay $2,000 water bill.
Yeah, we will. We'll get a report back from administration in the next couple weeks, and then we'll make a decision and give you further guidance on that here in a couple weeks. Okay. Thank you very much, and sorry about your situation. All right, we will move on to reading of bylaws. Can I get a motion, please, that council give first reading to bylaw number 2290? Go ahead, Councillor Bevan.
I'll make it so.
Thank you, Councillor Bevan. And we do have our Senior Manager of Protective Services with us this evening, Mr. Tyler Robinson. Come on up, Tyler.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. New technology, so getting used to that as well. And thanks for having me once again. Tonight we're going to talk about the bylaw enforcement officer, bylaw number 2290. So currently, Edson's peace officer bylaw number 2059 is worded somewhat inconsistently with comparable bylaw enforcement officer bylaws with other municipalities. In particular, other bylaws delegate the authority to appoint bylaw enforcement officers to the chief administrative officer. It is important for council to keep in mind that two categories of enforcement officers that are likely to be employed by most municipalities, which are including the town of Edson. And that would be a CPO, or Community Peace Officer Level 1. This position has the authority to enforce all town bylaws and select provincial statutes, but no criminal code offenses. The CPO 1 appointment is granted by the province of Alberta and automatically authorizes the enforcement of local bylaws without separate appointment as a bylaw enforcement officer. Whereas a bylaw enforcement officer, this position has the authority to enforce town bylaws but not provincial statutes. This appointment does not require approval of the province. An updated bylaw 2290 is attached with the substantive change that the authority to appoint bylaw enforcement officers along with handling complaints and addressing discipline is delegated to the chief administrative officer. And this complies with the Municipal Government Act below there, as you can see. So our strategic plan alignment is providing effective leadership and community engagement. The recommendation will help ensure that an important town bylaw is accurate and up to date. Alternatives is council could also provide other direction to administration. And that is the RFD portion. If you have any questions on the bylaw itself, I'm open to any questions.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Robinson, for your presentation this evening. And we will open the floor to any questions. Council? Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to Mr. Robinson, is the bylaw position, is it a union position? And if so, does that change any of the disciplinary procedures within the bylaw?
I'm still on, sorry. Yes, it is a union position. And as far as the disciplinary procedures, what you're stating, yeah, they have to take an oath, basically. And that authority to discipline is delegated to the CAO or a designate.
All right, and go ahead, Councillor Taylor, if you want to queue up there again, if you have a supplementary.
There we go. Yeah, just to follow up, sorry, and with that, I'm talking disciplinary procedures within being removed from the position. That's what I'm talking about. Does that change of how the union might have to be involved, and do we have to state that within the bylaw, or is that a separate document altogether that does that?
Thank you through the chair to Councillor Taylor. It's a union position again, so they absolutely have the right to have union representation on any disciplinary functions, as with any other union position.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor, for that question. Just a reminder, turn off your mics once you're done your questions. Council, any other further questions, comments, or concerns? We will go to Councillor Byer. That did not work. Councillor Byer, go ahead.
Thanks. Through the chair to administration or Mr. Robinson. So we have, so in the past, the previous council, we switched from the bylaw enforcement officer to the CPO level 1 position. I guess I was under the understanding that the province wasn't maybe allowing us to just have the regular bylaw officer enforcement position without the provincial traffic. I don't know, maybe that was my own mix-up. Is there any reason why we wouldn't go back to that? Or have it as options? I don't know.
Thank you, through the chair. So what I'm hearing is I need to clarify again. There's a difference between a community peace officer and a bylaw enforcement officer. So a community peace officer is appointed by the province, and through that appointment, they are automatically, just like any other peace officer or RCMP, they have the ability to enforce town bylaws. And that's what we currently employ right now. On the alternate side of that, we do have bylaw enforcement officers that can be a straight municipal employee and only enforce town bylaws. So those are the two categories. Am I close to your question?
Go ahead, Councillor Byer.
Through the chair to Mr. Robinson. Yes, so I understand the difference between the two for sure. So we've strictly went to the CPO level 1 roles for our bylaw enforcement positions. Is there any, so I guess what I'm saying is, have we maybe, you know, I'm wondering what the data is saying. Is it worth to have that designation for both of them, or is like, are we getting what we wanted out of it?
Thank you, through the chair. It offers us more flexibility with a bylaw enforcement officer. So we can literally employ someone that's appointed to be a bylaw enforcement officer to strictly enforce the town bylaws, which don't include provincial statutes, right? Where a community peace officer, they can enforce both. Now, I'm not aware of any moment in time we went strictly to community peace officers. It was an opportunity we had at the time to advance our peace officers to a level 1 status so they could enforce provincial statutes such as moving violations and weights and measures and things like that. With that said, there's obviously still a need. If we have bylaws that we're passing regularly, we have a need to enforce those bylaws still, and it provides us more flexibility.
All right. Thank you, Councillor Byer, for that question. And we will go to Councillor Moore. Go ahead, Councillor Moore.
Thank you. Through the mayor to Mr. Robinson, how's our staffing in those departments right now?
Thank you, through the chair to Councillor Moore. We are currently understaffed. We are still recruiting for 1 senior peace officer.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Councillor Bevan.
You're the chair, the Tyler there. So this is a new position, like you said, right? So it's not a new position. We're not going to hire another person to do just our bylaws. You're going to incorporate it into the CPO ones through the CAO. If we need something bylaw going into town, our CP ones will be able to go say parking downtown. There's a 1.5 hour parking. They're going to enforce that, which is in our bylaw, or unsightly properties or stuff like that. They're still going to be able to do that. We're not hiring anybody new.
Right. Thank you. Sorry, through the chair. Right now, we're not currently looking at just hiring a bylaw enforcement officer. What this does, it's updating the bylaw. So the previous bylaw, peace officer bylaw, there was a few things that were quite outdated. It referred to peace officer, and where it's actually community peace officer is assigned by the province. There was reference to a unit supervisor in there. There was a reference to the peace officer reporting directly to council. So through the MGA, that reporting structure should really not be directly to council. We're trying to streamline the process. We're trying to update the bylaw. And in no way, shape, or form does that mean a CPO1 won't be enforcing parking downtown. And Conversely, in no way, shape, or form, if we did hire a straight bylaw enforcement officer, would they have the ability to enforce provincial statutes?
All right, thank you, Mr. Robinson. Councillor Pasicny, go ahead.
Yeah, through the mayor to council. I think we need to remember here we're diving into details that's not part of this motion. The motion is that's on the table is a first reading to a bylaws to give us the power so administration can, if they need be, they can appoint somebody to be a bylaw officer. So it's not about hiring anybody. We're not making those decisions today. We're here to decide if we require the bylaw, and it's just pretty rubber stampish, if they ask me. We're basically, it's a bylaw to clean up an old bylaw, as we're trying to do with all of our bylaws. So I think we're diving into details that aren't part of the actual motion that's on the table.
Thank you, Councillor Pasicny. Any other questions, comments, or concerns about this? I think Councillor Pasicny summed that up. Just another update to a very dated bylaw, and I'm happy to support this. So with that, I will call the question. All those in favor? Motion carried. And can I get second reading to bylaw number 2290? Go ahead, Councillor Chenard.
So moved.
Thank you, Councillor Chenard. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. And can I get a motion that bylaw number 2290 be placed for third reading? Councillor Taylor.
I so move.
All right. Thank you, Councillor Taylor. All those in favor? Motion carried. And can I get a motion that council give third reading to bylaw number 2290? Go ahead, Councillor Moore.
I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. All those in favor? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Robinson, for your presentation. Can I get a motion, please, that council schedule the following budget meetings to be held in council chambers at the Edson Civic Center, September 9th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., September 26th at 7 p.m., October 24th at 7 p.m., and November 28th at 7 p.m. Go ahead, Councillor Chenard.
I will happily make this motion.
All right, thank you, Councillor Chenard, and we do have Mr. Alvin Kuzmic, if you want to come up. Steve, just let you know the TV in the back's not working.
Thank you and good evening, Mayor and Council. This evening, I will be speaking to the Request for Decision 2024 Budget Meeting Schedule. As outlined in your package, the goal in making this recommendation is to facilitate earlier and more extensive review throughout the budget process. The recommended motion would schedule 4 new council meetings for the purpose of budgetary deliberations. A full day workshop has been proposed for Saturday, September 9th, which is a month earlier than usual. 3 additional review meetings have been proposed for the 4th Tuesday of each month at the time regularly reserved for council meetings. The final operating and capital budgets will be presented to council in December for approval, as has been the practice in the past. Your package includes an overview of all major budget dates, which are also displayed on screen. You will notice on this slide we have a regularly scheduled August 15th council meeting. There will be a pre-budget council discussion to review items such as CPI, MPI, ongoing budgetary fiscal challenges, etc., and thereby to inform council of some of the high-level context applicable to budget deliberations. Also note, the budget process will include public consultations via the citizen budget process in April and May. And the engagement opportunity is anticipated to be open for 3 weeks. We will be featured at the trade show via iPads for public input. will be sent out with the May utility bills and will be available at various town facilities via iPads during the consultation timeline. The motion on the table is on screen for council's deliberation. Thank you for your attention, and I would be happy to take any questions at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Kuzik, for your presentation, and we will open the floor to questions from council. Go ahead, Councillor Byer.
Thanks. Through the chair to Mr. Kuzik. Thanks for bringing this forward now so we can check our schedules in advance. I will note I'm away for the August meeting, but my question is regarding the September 26th budget meeting. It's the day right before our Alberta Municipalities Convention, and it's likely that people would be leaving earlier in the day or afternoon for that. So my suggestion would be maybe a friendly amendment to the day before, maybe. I don't know if that works with everybody else, or an alternate day.
Do you want to speak to that, Mr. Kuzik?
Through chair to Councillor Byer. Thank you for the question. It's a good point. I did not know there was a meeting at that time. We could, like I said, these may not necessarily be required, these meetings, so we could cancel at any time. We could reschedule if another date is available, and we could look at whether we need to go further into November or early December, if need be. But we'd like to try to get this completed by early December, if appropriate.
We'll go to CO Beverage. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Without conferring with the rest of SLT, I would suggest we try to move it to the Monday if it's conducive to council's schedule. This being our first budget meeting, it'll be an important one. And thank you for recognizing it. I'm sorry that we missed that.
I would be in agreement with that. I think that makes the most sense. I don't think it would be wise for us to have it on the Tuesday. Is everybody okay with that? Who moved that? That was you're okay with that friendly amendment? Okay. All right. Any other further questions, comments, or concerns? All right. With that, I will call the question with that friendly amendment. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Councillor Byer.
Thanks. Through the chair to administration. When I was on the library board, I recall that maybe it's changed since then, but that they had their budget was due early to mid-September. Would this change anything for the library or museum, and when their budgets would be have to be sent to administration?
Okay, through the mayor to Councillor Byer. We will look into that for you and get back about that timeline.
And if you can let Councillor Taylor know as well. Go ahead, Councillor Chouinard.
Okay, I'm live. Through the chair, just to comment, good catch, Councillor Byer, because I was going to comment, we are making use of that fourth Tuesday. As a rule, we're all free on Tuesday night, so, but I do like the idea of changing it to Monday.
You had to give him that opportunity. All right, perfect. Thank you, Councillor Chouinard. With that, I will call the question. All those in favor? Motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Kuzik, for your presentation. Can I get a motion, please, that council accept administration's report on the Rural Renewal Stream Program for information? Go ahead, Councillor Byer.
I'd like to make that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Byer. And we will go to our Economic Development Officer, who will present to us tonight, Mr. Kundi Namberie. I hope I got that correct.
Close enough. So thank you, Council, for having me here today to discuss and report on the Rural Renewal Stream program. As you may recall, last year, September, you endorsed administration's application to be a designated community for this program. And fast forwarding to November last year, that's when we formally received our endorsement letter to be a designated community. And from that time until now, we've just been phasing in the program and just seeing how employers are uptaking when it comes to this program. So from the start, our interest in participating in this program was to attract and retain newcomers to our community, and as well to address the needs for skilled and unskilled labor shortages, and lastly, to bolster economic development and growth. So as it pertains to the application process that we currently have right now, it begins with an employer looking to partner up with the community and bring in a newcomer. And in doing so, they would submit an application form to us. And then from there, we would review the application form, make sure that we can cross-reference that with what the provincial government has in place. And if everything looks well, that's when we'd then move towards getting a job posting from them. So we can post it on our website, as we have a job posting board for all these employers looking to participate. And then from there, we would have candidates look at those jobs. And once the employer goes through the recruitment process and finding the right person that they want for that job, that's when we'd ask from a due diligence perspective for them to send us that job offer for us to review and just make sure that coincides with what they sent us initially with the application form. And then from there, endorsement letter request will be sent forward to us, and once that's been sent, we then issue that endorsement letter to that employer. And from there, that's when the candidate would then take that endorsement letter and apply for provincial nomination through the provincial government, and then move forward to applying for immigration. So moving past that first phase of the application process, the next phase for us is in now integrating those newcomers into this community. And so fortunately for us here in Edson, we do have a whole host of support networks that help newcomers integrate into this community, not to mention a network of supports that we currently provide in getting people connected to the right people that can help them with all sorts of issues that they might be looking to deal with, whether it be transportation options, childcare, education, and accommodations. So, as it currently stands, we have received about 20 employers very interested in participating in the program, of which 11 of them have actually gone ahead and submitted an application. In total, about 19 applications that we are currently dealing with. And from that number, we have formally endorsed 8 employers for the positions that they're looking to hire. So I just thought I would just look at some of the stats when it comes to the industries that a lot of these employees are in, and as well the employment applications that they've submitted. So as you can see towards the left, the dominant industries that we're seeing right now are the food service industry, with about 55% of them being the ones most interested in partaking in this program, followed by gasoline stations and convenience stores. And of course, seeing as how food industries is the largest participator in this program, that translates to the applications that we'll be receiving as well. In seeing that the food counter attendants and cooks are the most sought after jobs right now from these employers. So thank you. I'll be opening up for questions.
Thank you, Kundi, for your presentation here this evening, and we will open the floor to questions. Go ahead, Councillor Chenard.
Hi, through the chair to Mr. Kundi. I can't say your last name, same as mine anyway. Just my question, I do appreciate what the town's doing, but when we're employing people, would the town hold any liability if this went wrong? Because like what I'm seeing is similar to, let's say, immigration or Canada Center helping. So I like what we're doing, but would the town be liable if anything went wrong?
Through the mayor to Councillor Chenard. Thank you for the question. So on our end, all we basically do as a municipality is review applications. And then from there, they would then move on towards the provincial government and then later on the federal government when they make their applications. And so having said that, I don't see ourselves being liable for any of these things that can take place, as we are just merely a facilitator and making sure that the provincial government gets the people that they're looking for in the community.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, Councillor Byer.
Thanks. Through the chair to Kundi. In the past, I believe when we've had immigrant workers come to Edson, they've sometimes the employers have had to provide accommodations. Does this apply in this instance? And is there any contract on the employer's end or the employee's end to stay with that business?
Through the mayor to Councillor Byer. So as it pertains to accommodations, through our application process, we do, within the application itself that we have them submit to us, we do ask specifically about what they would actually do when it comes to accommodating newcomers that do come to the community. And that is actually one of the things that we do check in approving and endorsing them. And so it all ends up on what the employer is just able and willing to do. And if it meets our standards of being adequate enough, that's when we'd allow them to continue on with the process. And actually, I'm forgetting your second question. Sorry.
Thanks. The second question was in regards to, is there a contract for the employees to remain with that company, or is there a contract that the employer has to keep that employee?
Thank you. So when it comes to a contract between the employee and the employee having to stay within the community, we are not involved in that. So what's currently happening right now is once a candidate becomes a newcomer in this community, through this program, we are so basically when someone applies for any position that's been posted, when they come in on a temporary visa, it will first be a closed visa, meaning that they can only work for that employer up until they get that permanent residency. So once an employee has that permanent residency, we have no ways of telling them whether to stay or leave the community. But it is something we've discussed a lot with our employers about retaining a lot of these employees, and so in doing that, one of the things that we have had discussions about them with is in making sure it's a very inclusive, welcoming environment for the employee. We've talked about wages with them as well, and making sure that wages are good enough to retain those employees. But beyond that, we just have no control.
Thank you very much. Councillor Moore.
Through the mayor to Kundi. What other communities have similar programs as this one?
Through the mayor to Councillor Moore. To date, there are about 38 other communities that are participating in this program. And so this program is specifically for rural Alberta municipalities. And so these are all rural municipalities that are taking part.
Thank you. Councillor Taylor.
Excuse me. So I'm going to cough my way into this mic. Through the mayor to Kundi. Is this excuse me, a simple process? Sorry, man. A simple process. Looking at that chart there, you heard any feedback from employers or the applicants about the simplicity of the process? I'm sorry, everybody. I'm really sorry.
Yeah. Through the mayor to Councillor Taylor. So in us initially getting into this program, we tried making this process as simple as possible. And our feedback from employers has been that the hard thing that they're sort of trying to deal with is that with 38 other communities having this program, we've found that a lot of communities have deployed it differently. Some communities have certain requirements that we might not have, and then other communities require certain documents that we might not possess. And so it's just one of those situations on our end where we try to listen to them, get gauged what they're saying, get some feedback. And we are as well part of the Rural Community Network that includes 18 other communities that are deploying this program. So with them, we go into ongoing meetings where we talk about what other communities are doing and seeing what we can implement ourselves, just to make sure it's easier for the employers. And so far, we're just still figuring it out and seeing what the best process is, but this seems to be working for the employers.
Thank you very much. Councillor Bevan.
Through the chair to Kundi, do you want to do that again? There was a noise. No. My question is that the employers that have submitted applications, are they mostly unskilled or unskilled people that are looking to work here?
Through the mayor to Councillor Bevan. It's definitely a mix right now. So in the application process, we do, so after an application has been submitted to me, I do go through a review of that application. I look at educational requirements, certification requirements for that position, and we're seeing that it's almost an even split. There are some positions that do require certifications. For the candidate to actually be allowed to come into that job, there's some jobs where we see that some minor level of education is required. Overall, for the program, you have to have a minimum of high school education for you to participate. And from there, some industries might require a little bit more. And so far, it's just an even split of unskilled and skilled labor.
Thank you, Kundi. Go ahead, Councillor Byer.
Thanks. Through the chair to Kundi. Given that it's a bit of a cumbersome process to do this, what is the rough timeline that employers maybe would expect to see their workers?
Through the mayor to Councillor Byer. So the rough timeline we give them is about 2 weeks. And so within those 2 weeks, we just basically would have to go through this rigorous process and making sure that whatever they're giving forward to us is good enough for us to approve, so that when they move later on to the provincial government, that everything is in check and in order. And so roughly 2 weeks is about the time that we give them for us to get back to them with an endorsement letter.
Okay, thank you very much. Council, any further questions or comments for Kundi? This program, I think, is a really great program. Our employers are screaming for people right now in various industries, both skilled and unskilled. Question to you, Kundi, is do we know which countries the applicants are coming from? If you have any idea on where they're applying from?
Yes. So through the application process, we do ask for candidate information. And for all the candidates that we have provided endorsement letter to, now, I have been in touch with and in contact with them, with each of them, and I don't have the stats right now to present, but yes, so they come from all over, some from India, some are within Canada already on a temporary visa, are looking to get something more permanent. And that's definitely something we can highlight on later on.
All right, thank you very much. And Council, I do recommend, if you have the chance, to go to edson.ca and go to the business section of the website. There's a lot of work that's gone into there and lots of good information as well. So with that, I will call the question. All those in favor? Motion carried. Thank you very much, Kundi, for your presentation. We have no information items. We do have one sundry item. Can I get a motion, please, that Council cancel the March 14th, 2023 Committee of the Whole meeting? Councillor Pisichny?
I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Pisichny. Pretty straightforward. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Councillor Chenard.
Through the chair, just a comment. The committee of the whole meetings to me are very important. But I do agree we have nothing on agenda, but might have an opportunity for some of the boards and stuff to give us a updated presentation. So I believe that may be a lost opportunity. Just a comment, so I will be voting against it.
All right, Councillor Chenard. Thank you. Anybody else? I'll be supporting this. I don't like having meetings for the sake of having meetings. With that, I will call the question. All those in favor? I'm going to ask for you guys to raise your hands again. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Council committee reports. We are going back to February the 22nd. And today we will start with Councillor Moore.
Thank you very much. Yes, February 23rd, virtually I attended local governance in Alberta discussion. It was quite informative, and I think I got a lot out of it. March 2nd, Hinton Business Support Network listened to Doug Griffiths, who I believe has presented to us before. And this was 13 ways to growing a post-pandemic world. And it was quite interesting, as always, his insights, very interesting. And after that, I attended Community Futures West Yellowhead meeting. Thank you.
All right, and Councillor Pasichny.
Yeah, the one meeting to report was yesterday's youth council meeting.
All right, thank you, Councillor Pasichny. And we will go to Councillor Byer.
Thanks. On March 2nd, I attended the Business Support Network meeting on the, what Councillor Moore mentioned, with Doug Griffiths on the 13 ways with Community Future. And then following that, a Community Future board meeting. And I've already sent you guys the municipal updates through email. And that's it.
Thank you, Councillor Byer. Councillor Bevan.
February 9th, I attended a synergy meeting here. Guest presenters were AER. They are moving into another area which includes Alberta's deep geothermal resource and minerals from the application stage to reclamation. It was a very good presentation by them. We had a lot of people attend the meeting here. We had Par 999 Holdings from Hinton announced they were building a luxury resort hotel in Hinton, which will also serve as a hospitality education center and is planning to break ground in 2023. It is built on the existing golf course grounds in Hinton. They also have highway frontage that they're going to be building on and developing there. It's going to be a very good thing. Amenities will include a service hotel, main hotel, retail village, conference center, and teaching block, amphitheater bar, and a gourmet resident. They have 26 acres that they got from the town of Hinton. There's 3 teaching hotels, 100 units for student housing, 40 square foot convention and event center and that. And they are kind of worldwide with it and that. It was a very good presentation from them. They will be using the airport if they have to fly anybody in to get them up to Hinton or whatever, and it's good for students from all across the world and that, not only local and that. So they will be charging them to stay there 3 years or whatever and that, and it looks good like that. Also, Parliamentary Secretary for Small Businesses, Martin Long, recently completed the first leg of a small business roundtable engagements in Northern East Alberta. He plans to resume roundtable post-election. Common themes emerging from these 3 meetings included the debt load many small businesses are carrying post-pandemic and the lack of policies and programs to address this issue, the request for Government of Alberta to provide assistance in navigating government process and locating existing business support. There's no need to create more through better consideration of services required. The labor shortage, being especially acute in rural Alberta, is where it is much more difficult to recruit. The success of micro-credential courses and training up staff as well as local hiring trade shows. And that is my report as presented.
Thank you, Councillor Bevan. Councillor Chenard. Oh, hang on. Hit the wrong button. Go ahead, Councillor Chenard. Councillor Chenard, don't touch the button. Go ahead.
Okay, you can hear me. Councillor Bevan, thank you for attending that Synergy meeting for you. Did you let them know that Edson has 26 acres available for further expansion? Just a comment. February 22nd, I attended the Chamber of Commerce meeting. We were just emphasizing the trade show coming up on the 28th, 29th. We're about 50% sold out, and we're encouraging others and for success. February 27th, as a Trans-Canada Alberta rep, I was invited to Zoom in to a Rotary meeting in Edmonton where Element Energy made a presentation, their hydro future fuel. I did pass the information on because he kept making comments, West Yellowhead, Edson, and our power plants in the area. So I encouraged him, put him in contact with Daniel to make a presentation. And I'm just going to make a note of this because it was a dual part. March 2nd, I attended the GYPSD community engagement. And that's it for my report.
Thank you, Councillor Chenard. Councillor Taylor.
Nothing to report other than I'm still alive from my coughing fit earlier. Thank you for that.
And once again, please turn off your microphone. There we go. I attended Municipal Affairs Town Hall on March the 1st, discussing the budget with Municipal Affairs Minister Rebecca Schultz. Some good news in the budget, actual increases to both FCSS and libraries. They're not huge amounts, but they certainly are helpful, as well as a massive injection of money into affordable housing within the province of Alberta. Definitely a pre-election budget, and we'll see what happens here in the next 90 days. Following that, we did the Alberta Communities budget webinar as well, doing the review, and I did pass on an email with all the details. There's lots to digest from the Alberta municipalities perspective. Was interesting to note the Alberta Provincial Police Force was not in the budget, and the finance minister has said it's off the table for now, which no big surprise there. And then yesterday we had the youth council meeting. It was, I think, a very good meeting. The youth councilors are working on two really great projects. Of course, the Mayor for the Day program is coming back. We've revamped it, and it's going to include grade 6 classes, where classes can be making suggestions. And if a classroom wins, they'll be getting a pizza party with the mayor. And they're also working on some Earth Week events, working with Weyerhaeuser, as well as trying to raise funds and coats for the Edson Food Bank and the Wayfinding program. So the Youth Council has split up into two subcommittees to work on those two separate projects, and you'll hear more about that in the next few weeks. And really excited, and we are very fortunate to have a youth councilor here with us this evening as well. So looking forward to that, and that is my report. Go ahead, Councillor Bevan.
Just a reply to Councillor Chenard's land. I did let him know, and it was a lot closer to the golf course.
All right, thank you very much. We have no financial items. Questions for media and public regarding items from this council meeting? Anybody in the gallery have any questions? Maya, do you have any questions? All right. And we have no members of the media here this evening, so we will take a motion to go into our closed meeting session. And Councillor Taylor, go ahead.
I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. All those in favor? That motion is carried. Thank you very much. Okay, so we just come out of the in-camera session, and I think Danielle's just pulling up a motion for us. All right, so can I get a motion, please, that council direct administration to work with the Edson and District Recycling Society and Yellowhead County for an extension of the recycling contract for up to 2 years? Councillor Taylor?
I so move.
All right, thank you, Councillor Taylor. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? That motion is carried. And can I get a motion for adjournment? Councillor Chenard?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Councillor Chenard. All those in favor? Motion carried. Thank you.